All right, friends, welcome to Behind the Pulpit on a balmy Monday afternoon, which is when we're recording this. It is currently 28 degrees outside, which, man, it's like a heat wave here in Basking Ridge, New Jersey. Over the weekend, I got to tell you, Saturday was the coldest weather I felt in a very long time. It was like negative 15 on the wind chill. It was pretty crazy. Did you feel that? Let us know in the comment section if you were experiencing the negative 15. Like and subscribe this video. We're so glad you're joining us today. Let me check to my left and see if Pastor Dave over here experienced the negative 15. How are you doing? Was the beard helping on Saturday with the with all the chilly weather?
You know when you pull the windshield wiper fluid and it's liquid in that form? Well, it doesn't stay liquid for very long in this weather. So if you don't get that wiped off your windshield within like a half a second, it's going to freeze on your windshield. That's how cold it is.
It was so
You have to get the special
cold.
brand that's not the different temperature, freezing temperature brand.
Yeah.
That's cold.
I went out, man, but it was frigid. It was legitimately frigid outside.
Yeah.
So
I ended up outside way too much this weekend for my taste, and I was literally like shaking when I came inside. Like I need to stop being outside.
I've been seeing pictures that Carol Hensley, our old financial manager, has been posting. Her and her husband made their way to Antarctica. Have you seen these pictures on social media?
Yes.
They're following the penguins around. They're following sea lions or whatever those are, and it feels like Antarctica here in New Jersey right now, Pastor Dave.
Yeah. Although I guess right now the southern pole is facing towards the sun, so it's a lot as freezing in this time of year as it could be.
All right.
But it's
well,
cold.
They've moved all the freezingness up to the northeast right here. It's just like we're in the bullseye.
It's dipping all the way down into like the lower half of the United States right now. The cold is engulfing us.
It's engulfing is a good word. All right.
I made the joke about. Does this affect your mood? Do you guys feel like?
Yes.
I feel like
I'm more tired.
A little bit.
I keep waking up. I'm like, why am I so tired? Because it's about negative 5 degrees outside.
Yeah. Well, it's like I just want to take out the trash, and I don't want to snake my way through the path that I built. I just want to have like everything kind of melt down, and I have a pile of firewood. I don't want to dig my firewood out from under the tarp, and everything is a little bit more challenging. Yeah. So, like, you put your car in the garage, the slush kind of falls on the garage floor, and then you got to shovel it out, and everything is like a little bit more. Yeah. Can the sun come out?
Yeah, it is true. Let me take a poll here. So I know Noah. Sometimes I go to the gym in the morning. I know I see Noah there. I don't like to wear. I like to just wear my shorts, get in there, and then I get changed and all that afterwards. And I've still, if I go, I still wear the shorts, even though it's 0 degrees outside. So, do you do that, Noah? Or do you wear some pants and you take them off? What do you think?
No, usually that 5-second walk is the worst part of my day.
Yeah, it's pretty frigid.
You wear shorts over there.
Yeah.
Well, you're kind of in and out. It's not like you're hanging out at like doing a run outside. You it's getting in and out of the car to the building, which is warm. But man, that feels nice once you get in that building.
The other night I was playing basketball over at the Deaconry, and I had shorts on, and I had my big black long trench coat. And I look so dumb. So I get down there, and all the guys are laughing at me like I'm going to flash them or something, like I'm a streaker. Why do you have your big long trench coat on with shorts? It looks ridiculous.
Oh,
like it's cold out there. I'm wearing my coat.
It's cold. It's cold outside. All right, well, we're glad you're joining us for Behind the Pulpit. We're going to move into our new segment that we've been trialing here called the Weekly Warmup. And I don't know who's doing that, but I know we're doing it. So who's taking the lead on the weekly warm up here?
That would be me.
Try saying that 5 times. Weekly warm up. Weekly warm up.
It's tough to do. It's hard out here.
It's not easy.
So today is, if you are, no matter where you're watching or listening to this, it is Season 4, Episode 20 of Behind
420.
the Pulpit. It is our marijuana episode. I'm just kidding. We're not talking about that today. So for today's verse that we will warm up on, it comes from, I don't say it here, 1 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 20, which says, For the kingdom of God does not consist in talk, but in power. We'll ask you guys to break this down as your weekly warm-up.
Now, remind me what we're doing with this. We're supposed to be... we come up with a preaching point?
This
or are we
is the
supposed
Bible,
to,
Bob. This is
Yeah, you talk about... You get a verse, and you tell us about
you've
the
done
verse.
so many of these little bits where you're like, here, make a prop out of this, or whatever you like. Just give us stuff to come up with off the top of our head.
Yes. So here's the verse. Tell us about the verse.
For the kingdom of God does not consist in talk, but of power. Well, if I remember correctly, Paul is in 1 Corinthians dealing with some dissenters, people who don't like him very much. And he is telling them about the true gospel. He is confronting their views of the world. And he's basically saying all these false teachers out there are just talk. They're just talk. They just go out and say things. But the real power of the gospel is what comes behind it. And he's using it as a a way of legitimizing his ministry in 1 Corinthians 4. What would you add to that?
I think there was something about Greek rhetoric and persuasion that he was saying, I'm not coming to you like the rest of those philosophers, rhetoricians. It's not about that. I'm not here to show off how smart and wise I am, because the gospel is foolishness to those who are perishing. But yet there's power there for those that the Spirit of God decides to open their eyes. That's what I remember. But
I think there was a contrasting a contrasting of the kingdom of the world versus the kingdom of Christ, and he's doing a whole big, there was a whole slew of people that were coming in that were claiming to be these powerful teachers and trying to take Paul's ministry down, which I think continued on into 2 Corinthians, which we did do more recently, although that was a year ago now.
It was.
Yeah, 1 Corinthians was like 3 years ago. Yeah. Wow. All right. I feel warmed up, Tim.
Good. That's the purpose. We're living in a time where the biggest questions aren't just what we believe, but why we believe it and whether we're prepared to pass that on to the next generation. On Sunday, February 22nd, we are so excited to welcome Corey Miller, CEO of Ratio Christi, which is a global ministry dedicated to equipping Christians to think clearly, live faithfully, and defend the truth of the Christian worldview in today's culture. Corey is going to be preaching at both Sunday services with two distinct messages. At the 9 a.m., he'll bring a message titled, Is Jesus Unique to Basic Morality? A fresh and compelling look at the Golden Rule as evidence for the truth of Christianity. Then at 10:45, he'll address the third revolution and the scandal of the evangelical mind, helping us understand the cultural upheaval we're experiencing and how Christians should respond with clarity and wisdom. Following the 10:45 service from 12:30 to 2 o'clock p.m., Corey will be leading a parenting seminar titled The Battle for Your Child's Mind. This seminar will build on the morning messages and include teaching and Q&A designed to help parents navigate faith, education, and culture in today's world. If you're planning to attend that seminar, we ask that you please just register on our church website, millingtonbaptist.org, so we can prepare for you accordingly. Again, that's Sunday, February the 22nd. Corey Miller is going to be preaching at both the 9 and 10:45 services, followed by the parenting seminar at 12:30. Get ready for a Sunday that strengthens convictions, sharpens thinking, and equips families to live faithfully in a challenging age.
Remind me what's next. In the news?
Yes.
In the news. All right, let's do some in the news. All right, it was suggested that we should be talking about, this will be a very sporty in the news. Has anything happened in the sports world in the last day or so?
Olympics.
Well, there is a lot of stories about the Olympics, so we can talk about that, as well as the Super Bowl. So I will just state up front, I did not watch the Super Bowl. I did hear later on that the Seahawks won, which if I had to choose one team, I probably would have chosen the Seahawks because I don't like anything New England. But I don't know. Was it a good game? Did you guys watch? Was it good or was it like eh?
If you like defense, you love.
I mean, it was three
it.
field goals in the whole first half. It was really slow. There was a little bit of a picking up the pace in the second half, but as far as the game, it was the Patriots were never really in it. So
okay,
their quarterback is exceptionally young.
Last
I think
year
their quarterback is 23 years old, right? So
yeah. Last year I watched,
but
and I remember the game being very good last year at the end. Right, that was last year, right? Who played last year?
Chiefs, Eagles.
Yes, it was a good game, right?
I believe so. The Eagles won,
Gosh.
I think it came right
Put me
down
on
to the
the spot
wire.
here.
I think
I
it
can't
came.
remember.
I think it came down to the wire last year. All right. Well, of course, nobody really watches the Super Bowl for the football. They watch for the commercials. So, what were the big commercials that were out there on the Super Bowl, and what were your takes? Those of you that watched.
The Dunkin' Donuts commercial, I think we were talking about earlier, was kind of clever. So they had older characters from TV sitcom past,
Such
characters
as?
from Cheers. They had Ted Danson
Sam
there.
Malone.
Ted Danson.
They had,
George Costanza.
they had Seinfeld.
They had Seinfeld characters?
Yeah.
Wow.
Steve Urkel, didn't they have him?
Yeah, they had what's his name from Friends.
Yep. Jennifer Aniston, as well as the
Ross?
Ross, was it?
I guess.
Or Chandler? It couldn't be Chandler, right? He
I never
passed away.
watched.
So that was a whole Dunkin' Donuts commercial, which was pretty clever. I thought that was interesting. They had singing toilet seats. I don't know if you guys saw that one.
I saw a different singing commercial.
What was that advertising?
So these seats were like, flapping up and down, singing this song, and you're like, where is this going? And at the end of the commercial, it was about looking down at the color of your urine to see if it's yellow or not, to see if you're properly hydrated. And that was the first. But I'm not going to forget that. It was just straight up weird. So you know how they have these new I don't want to offend anybody, so
Too late.
but I'm about to offend you. Okay, so there's these new trends about I'm going to go to this store in a strip mall that has needles, and I'm going to pick from a menu a concoction of whatever cocktail of whatever I'm going to let you put some nutrients in my body. So it was one of those commercials for something like Liquid IV or something like that. Make sure you have whatever nutrients you need to have in your body.
Yeah, I see. I'm looking at the best commercials. Wait, that was about hydration. Oh, that's what it is. Here, this one.
Yeah.
That was about hydration. Liquid IV.
IV.
It was for
Those
Liquid
places
IV.
where you can go and you can tell them you need certain.
Oh, I see. So you take the Liquid IV and then you have to pee and you get the check. Is that what the deal was?
You get they can.
Okay.
I don't, it's a kind of a strange trend. I feel like right now you're going somewhere who's not your general doctor, who's sticking you with a needle, who's putting stuff in your body that I feel like a little nervous about those places. But if you do that, I don't mean to offend you. I just thought that was an interesting commercial with the toilet singing. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. I see there was some AI commercials. Shake your bots off. Svedka big game commercial. So AI was in there somewhere.
There's a lot of AI ads and then ads about AI.
Yeah.
It's the big thing, right?
Doesn't Elon have AI.com? Is that his website? They had that ad.
One of the first ads was about AI having ads, and it had a not lovely example of an ad that you might find on AI.
Yeah.
Towards the beginning
Okay.
of the program.
The program.
Standard Budweiser commercials with the horse.
All right. Yeah, Budweiser. So what about the halftime show? I heard there was quite a bit of controversy around the halftime show. There was the guy sang in Spanish and
Bad
had
Bunny.
subtitles. What's his name?
Bad Bunny.
Bad.
Not to be
That's right,
confused with the chocolate bunny that King Nebuchadnezzar had in the VeggieTales vehicle.
Bunny. And then Lady Gaga showed up with Bad Bunny.
Did she?
I think I saw that somewhere.
It was a zoo.
Wow.
But there was also the Turning Point halftime show where Kid Rock showed up, and I heard you and Dave and Tim had a bit of a almost came to fisticuffs over Kid
We had a
Rock.
heated rivalry over a discussion over lunch. There was
Tim
food
and I,
thrown.
we're not friends anymore. That's the thing.
What was the issue? What was the issue here? I didn't understand from what you were saying before.
Tim was making a valid point that there's been some really terrible things that Kid Rock has sang about in the past, which is totally true. So, but I said, you got to watch his show from last night. So what they did, just from a Christian worldview perspective, so they had, the All-American halftime show. They had some country artists, and then he was the headliner. So he did an older song that he did from years ago back in the day, and then they paused and they had this cellist come out with a violinist, and they played some, I think, beautiful music. And that was symbolic of Kid Rock's conversion experience. And then they reintroduced him, not as Kid Rock. They introduced him as his actual name, which I think is Robbie Ritchie or something like that.
Something like that.
And he gets up to the stage after the second introduction and sings a song that's a country hit called Till You Can't, which is basically about, hey, take advantage of the opportunities you have right now in life till you can't. And then he gets to the end of that song and he writes another verse that's gospel. And he's like, I wanted to add this one more verse. There's a book in your house that's collecting dust, and there's a man on the cross that's making things available for you, and he'll give you a second chance. You should take advantage of it till you can't. And that was like the ending. And I was like, well, that's a very gospel-centered message there. And I thought, all right, Kid Rock. I was impressed. So I thought it was a good show.
All right.
Personally. But the other one was Bad Bunny, which, I don't know, maybe there's some stuff to say about that. Tim, what do you want to say about Bad Bunny?
There was concerns that Bad Bunny was making some political statements in Spanish that people that didn't speak Spanish didn't understand.
I watched the Bad Bunny vehicle. I really enjoy Latin music. I listen
so you're
to
what
Christian
you're
Latin
saying
music.
is you're a Bad Bunny fan.
I would not call myself a Bad Bunny fanatic. I know what he sings about is not appropriate.
You dabble in some Bad Bunny.
I enjoy the way the music sounds. Lyrically, I cannot recommend it to anyone. I know, based on my faith. However, I did watch it. I thought it was a really cool picture of Puerto Rican culture. The set was great. A lot of the things that he, I thought it was really cool. I thought I learned a lot about, as much as I could, about Puerto Rico from a halftime show, which I thought was cool. And there was nothing overtly, every single person who does a halftime show is going to have some sort of thing that they lean into, right? And there was a couple things that, smaller political notions, but nothing like last year. I thought it was not nearly. I wouldn't call it bad at all. I enjoyed it. I thought from a production standpoint, I thought it was a masterpiece. I thought the camera work was incredible. The choreography was awesome. But for the most part, overall, I enjoyed it. I will have to go back and watch the Turning Point USA one. I did not tune into that.
All right. This is why Tim and I are having a fight. So,
all right.
He's
been over here buying his time, man. He's just it's like, all right, let me break it down.
I thought, to say positive things, I thought the message about the unity of our country was good on the football thing, right? And then generally, I feel like there was an attempt to have a message about inclusion, right? So that's the positives. So where I felt like it was a struggle was there was definitely LGBT stuff. There's some gay grinding going on in the background, and then I don't speak Spanish very well.
Hold on that. There was that, but there also was a real life traditional marriage ceremony.
I need the camera.
Did I just hear that? I heard that.
Yes, you did. There was actually there was a man and a woman who actually got married for real.
They did. That was kind of cool. People actually got married there
and had their wedding cake during the thing.
I think that was the first time ever somebody got married on the field and during halftime.
Wow.
So I mean, my Spanish is limited, but I did look up the lyrics after, and the stuff he was singing about was not appropriate at all. It was about degenerate, intimate relationships with some, I feel like not marital partners. That's what that was about there.
Correct.
He said it was maybe
Degenerate.
that's the reason why he sang in Spanish, so that you wouldn't know.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Like,
all his music is in Spanish.
If you know, you know, right?
If it's a message of inclusion, those of us who don't have like a fluency in it didn't feel included. So that felt kind of ironic there. The other thing is there was some political messaging. So he had his, what was it, a Grammy he won? And he handed it to a little boy. And little boy was representing the little boy that was captured, captured, maybe not the wrong term, that was put into custody by ICE when he the little boy with the hat that's been all over the news. Liam, I think, is his first name. So it was symbolic of him giving this trophy to this little boy, and I think the symbolism there, on the one hand, was quite beautiful because he was like, "This is kind of like a little me. Here's a Hispanic person giving a Grammy to a young little boy, saying, I did this. You can make it too." That's cool. But there was a subtle message there that anybody who stands for anything that is happening with border control is inherently problematic, or the word hateful was there at the end. And I felt like that message was sort of conveyed with that. The other thing they had that was somewhat political was the critique with there was a hurricane in Puerto Rico a couple years ago now, and they had these 2 telephone poles and 2 guys climbing up the poles trying to get the power going. And it seemed like a critique of the way in which we didn't properly give aid to Puerto Rico at the time. So there was some messaging that was given there. It was artistic, so you had to interpret it a little bit. But, yeah. I will say, the thing about Charlie Kirk at the very end of the TPUSA was touching. Yeah, they had a tribute to him and his wife and 2 children, and it's sad to think about that. And they only had a little bit of time to put this thing together, but I think they might have started a tradition, with an alternative halftime show, because there was like 5 or 6 million people that tuned in, or maybe it was more than that. I don't know. So that's a pretty big siphon to leave the Super Bowl and do something else. Anyway, those are some thoughts. What did you think? Did you guys watch that? I'm interested to hear other takes on it. Certainly sparks conversation. Noah, what does that look mean? Noah's like, got this little grin saying he's about to say something. I don't know what.
I actually didn't watch anything. The only thing I watched was the Cadillac Formula One team livery reveal commercial at the end. I didn't watch anything else.
It's true. Well, there's also the Olympics happening. Is there any so I heard Lindsey Vonn had a major injury, and lots of political statements from certain people that have been getting some airtime. Anybody been watching the Olympics over the last few days?
Yeah.
The luge.
Okay.
And what's your favorite? I like curling. I like
I'm watching
skiing.
curling right now.
I like so my wife loves the figure skating, and I try so hard, but
Pastor Dave.
sometimes when my mind wanders. But it's impressive, Tim. I don't mean to say what they're doing is not incredible.
I mean, could you get up there?
No.
Speaking of figure skating, it is so cold outside. I saw people trying to figure skate on the Passaic River over here in Long Hill.
If you are not tuning in to Ilya Malinin when that guy figure skates, that guy,
he can do it.
Could you get up there and do a triple coaxial bungee jump off of the ice?
Not.
Whatever they call it.
it's a real trick.
Yeah.
Triple coaxial bungee jump.
It's impressive what they do.
25
They get
skill
some
points.
height.
Yeah.
They get some height.
So
Right.
the Olympics opening ceremony I thought was tasteful in Milan, Italy.
Oh, so in contrasting to the Summer
Paris
Olympics.
a couple years ago was
Yes.
I felt like a little bit raunchy. I don't know. There was some Greek god meal thing
true.
that looked like the Lord's Supper and felt a little blasphemous.
Very
Remember
French. Very French.
Very.
Yes.
Yeah.
They tune a lot of like classical Italian things with art and music, and all that stuff. I thought it was cool.
I understand we're hosting the Olympics in 2028 in Los Angeles. Is that true?
Yes.
Better get ready.
Well, that's going to be interesting. Yeah.
A lot of stuff going on in the news.
There we go.
Gentlemen, it is that time again for our men's breakfast. Join us on Saturday, September the 21st for another incredible morning of amazing food and fellowship. The event's going to start at 8 o'clock, but the doors open at 7:30, so it might behoove you to get there a bit early. We're so excited to host our very own Dr. Frank Donnarumma, who's going to share his testimony about what God has done in his life. Another amazing men's breakfast is on the way, Saturday, February 21st. Come on out. You don't need to sign up. Just show up. Doors open at 7:30. We start at 8. Come and enjoy some fellowship.
All right, why don't we pivot? Let's do a pivot. Speaking of Ross from Friends, pivot. I'm going to pivot over to from the news to the war, the great
Back to war.
Book
Out of the
war.
frying pan.
All right.
And into the fryer.
All right, so Tim, give us the update on the war.
Here's
where
the
is
score as it
stand?
currently stands. Pastor Bob with a big win last week. He is currently trailing Pastor Dave by 2 points. The score is 6-8.
Coming
to
back.
8. For those of you who are not watching on YouTube.
Now this is much more interesting than the Super Bowl.
Exactly. Real quick, speaking of those who listen not on YouTube, I walked over to the Millington Baptist shuttle yesterday.
You did?
And
On
I
foot?
did.
You walked over to the Chabad and got the shuttle?
Hector Garcelle, who was driving the shuttle, was in front. I went over to say hello, and on the car play was Phoebe and the Gauntlet of Questions.
Really?
It was on during the NBC
Phoebe.
shuttle ride.
Phoebe, that was what we were listening to, was Phoebe.
Phoebe, yes.
Hey, whoever did that, thanks for raising awareness. They're a friend of the show. We need to get them so we need to get some Behind the Pulpit merchandise. Noah, we need to get that on the online store, some BTP.
I already did my budget things, so maybe next year. I've lost my mouse.
Is your name Noah? I said Noah, not Tim.
Oh, sorry, Noah.
He's the apparel guy.
We can make some merch happen.
Some merch happen. Anyway,
I would like a Behind the Pulpit sticker.
This past week, the matchup was Running Scared for Pastor Dave and the Redeemed Man from Pastor Bob.
That's right. I thought you said Pastor Dave was running scared because I'm on his heels.
Well, there was no reason for him to run scared this
Double
week.
entendre.
As he came away with the win in
You know
rather
what?
convincing form.
Ding, 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 ding,
receiving
ding.
75% of the votes.
You know what? That tells
This
me who's
week.
listening to the show. I see. Interesting. Pastor
score
Dave just
is now
appeals to the ladies.
6-9 and in favor of Pastor Dave.
What is happening with that comment?
Show is off
Because
the
my
rails.
book was The Redeemed Man. I'm assuming that there was a lot of women that voted because
see.
they wouldn't be interested in the Redeemed Man.
We just lost every man that ever watches Behind the Pulpit.
No, there's no way John Bucksbaum is leaving this show.
I think John Bucksbaum still voted for my book. We'll find out. He'll come up and tell me. Okay, so since I lost, I will make my entry this week. I've been doing a lot of reading on productivity, and my entry is a book called Eat That Frog.
Oh, yeah.
Boom. Ribbit right here by Brian Tracy. 21 great ways to stop procrastinating and get more done in less time. There just isn't enough time for everything on our to-do list, and there never will be. Successful people don't try to do everything. They learn to focus on the most important tasks and make sure they get those done. They eat their frogs. So lots of really good stuff in here. I'm chewing on it right now. So he's got some methods. He's got a chapter on practicing creative procrastination. Some of you might find interesting. You got to upgrade your skills. You got to identify your constraints. You got to slice and dice the task. So if you want to get more done, if you're feeling like you're a procrastinator, this is the book for you. And man, that green looks really good on the camera right there. Why are you blocking my view right there, Tim? What's going on?
I am?
It's just the TV screen.
Oh.
Okay.
The stream doesn't have it.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, eat that frog, folks. Right there. Right there. It's coming for you. By the way, have you ever had frog legs? Apparently, they're quite a delicacy in the South. Florida.
You can get them at the Coney Island Nathan's as
You
well.
can. Frog legs. Never had them, but I hear they're good. What do you got over there, Pastor Dave?
Okay, so the idea behind the title is that if you were told, here's a list of stuff you have to do today, and one of them is you have to eat this frog on your desk. The point of the book is you'd want to get that out of the way first. Otherwise, you're going to spend the rest of your day anxiously worrying about the moment where you're going to have to eventually eat the stupid frog. So Mr. Tracy is saying, get it over with. You'll have a much better day if you do that first.
There you go.
Okay. Just thought I'd help you. I'm trying to help you out.
Sounds like you're helping me recommend this book, Pastor Dave.
I am. But you won't want that book as much as you want this book. So Getting the Message by Dr. Dan Doriani is a textbook that I actually use when I do adjunct teaching for a class on principles of biblical interpretation. If you want to know how to study and understand the Bible for yourself and enjoy the joy of Bible discovery, which is the best kind of way to learn, not secondhand, but firsthand, this is good. So it's non-technical, which is why I love it. It's an introduction to interpretation. There's no foreign languages in here. Doriani's a great Bible teacher. Bob and I have heard him speak once or twice.
Had dinner with him.
He will give you texts as samples to analyze. He'll tell you how to solve problems. He'll tell you how to develop themes. He goes through each of the genres of biblical literature and shows you how to deal with each of those. This is good for any age. Adults, it's also good for teenagers. It's good for college students. It's good for Christian leaders. And this book has been translated into many languages, and it's been revised with a global audience in mind. So, one of the things he teaches in here is like here's a simple lesson that maybe you'll like this one. So he calls it the interpretation grid of the puddle. So the puddle is like if you were to drop a stone into a body of water, it kind of has ripples, right? So in that way, the way you interpret the Bible is by working your way through the ripples, starting in the center and working your way out. So like you start with the word, then you move out to the verse, then you move out to the paragraph, then you move out to the chapter, then you move out to the book, then you move out to what testament is this in. And if you don't interpret the Bible using the principle of the puddle, sometimes you'll misinterpret the Bible. You'll take one verse out of somewhere, just pluck it out, and you won't understand the context. So that's the kind of thing he teaches you in this book. There's a zillion more tools and tips like that in here. He's got the principle of the ladder. I'm not going to explain what that is to you now, but you're going to want to know about that. It's a key principle of biblical interpretation, principle of the ladder. So this is my book, Getting the Message. It's got a sharp new cover here. The one I have is like older and green and a little bit more outdated, but this is the revised and expanded edition. Dr. Dan Doriani, Getting the Message. Check it out. It's on Amazon.
Who published this book?
This one is P&R.
P&R.
Yeah.
All right.
So
He likes those
a
P&R.
lot of his stuff is P&R, although
Yeah.
the Reformed Expository Commentaries, are they P&R too? Yeah, they're P&R too.
They're P&R.
It looks like all of his stuff is P&R. So
He's a P&R guy.
yeah, so it's a good New Jersey publishing house. You're supporting
Phillipsburg.
like, the gospel here in the Garden State, which is an important thing to do.
Phillipsburg, New Jersey.
We recommend you decide.
That's right.
Tim, I'm looking at the Behind the Pulpit show from last week, and I can't see where to vote. So it's here somewhere, right?
Oh,
There's
so
a
what
link.
you're saying is there might have been some voter suppression last week, Pastor Dave.
I can't find it. It's in the comments, right? It's in the description.
Oh no.
I think we need to have some voter ID laws for Behind the Pulpit book
That's
work,
kinda-
Pastor Tim.
Is it in the description? Where can I find it?
Should have been in the description. I edited the description, unless I edited it in the wrong.
I don't. Maybe I'm going to cry foul here, Tim.
Something must have.
We might have to have a redo.
Well, so okay.
Wait, somebody voted. He got the votes.
Yeah.
I
so-
know, but people they knew how to do the back channel voting. There was
Something must have happened where
hanging chads in the back room.
something must have because I'm actually rather annoyed because I spend way too much time on these descriptions that I'm really upset that it didn't come through. But if this ever happens, it's the same link every week. So if you go back to
that's how they knew.
a previous
what I'm
episode
saying,
and click
so
on the
they
link,
know-
I update the same
they
form
know.
every week. So
They know.
as we speak, the new options
Who's going
are
to
already
know?
in there.
They're going to know.
They're ready to go.
No, I can think of a few people who probably
You
know.
could go right now to to one of the previous links and vote for Eat That Frog or Getting the Message right now. There's already a response. Someone already voted. I don't know how.
That was me.
Oh, there you go.
I just found it from 2 weeks ago, and I'm like, does this
Pastor
one
Bob-
work? And
Pastor-
I already put my vote
Pastor
in.
Bob's already
All
losing.
right, there we go. I'll have to go in and vote for myself, so it's even. All right.
Good luck finding the link. It's like a treasure hunt.
I know. There we go.
Are you a teen in our youth group? I mean, more than likely you're a parent of someone in our youth group. However, this is an important announcement for both of you. This week is the last week to sign up for our winter retreat. It's going to be the last weekend in the month of February, bleeding into March, and we're going to Refreshing Mountain, Pennsylvania. These retreat weekends are always incredible. I myself am a leader who will be going on the trip, and we cannot wait for another incredible, transforming weekend away in Pennsylvania. Like I said, this is the last week to sign up, so if you're seeing this right now, you have a child, or you yourself can attend this retreat and you haven't signed up yet, we ask that you go do that right now because you're not going to want to miss it. We hope you can make it out to our 2026 Rush Winter Retreat. All right, I think we have some questions.
All right, so let's move on to the questions. Inquiring minds want to know about some things here, Pastor Dave. So we agreed to split up these two questions. We got a JR question right here that Pastor Dave was going to attempt to answer, and maybe I'll give him an assist. And then I got a second one about a verse from the sermon. So what's the first question here, Tim?
So as alluded to, this first question is from our friend of the show, John Rickershauser. Congratulations, John, a new member of Millington Baptist Church.
Have we kept a list on how many questions John has asked? We should give him a prize when we hit like 100 or something.
They're all in. The feed has never been deleted, so we can go back.
But I'm saying, do we know how many? Because maybe when he hits like 100, we can give him a gold-plated Behind the Pulpit logo or something.
We can start counting. So here is his question.
You know that book, Ask Pastor John? We could have Ask by John, and we can publish a book just of John's questions.
By John. Like the John Piper Ask Pastor John?
Ask Pastor John. He's got a whole book of the questions that he answered called Ask Pastor John.
John is now a member. He joined the church yesterday.
Welcome, John.
Yeah.
Now your questions are going to get harder, I can tell.
We should get John a special camera recording set up in his home with like a nice chair and a smoking jacket.
You know, sometimes on these shows they give people segments. Maybe we can give our greatest fans like different segments where they come on
the ground
Zoom.
With
He's
John
a rising
Rickershauser.
man.
It's true.
Rising.
All right. Anyway, what's the question here? We're getting sidetracked.
All right. Here's the question.
I got things to do today.
At the cross, when Jesus asked, my God, why have you forsaken me? Was he then separated from God for 3 days until the resurrection action?
Okay. So the technical answer here is what we talk about with regards to the ontological Trinity or the immanent Trinity versus the economic Trinity. And the Holy Spirit and the Son and the Father are one in essence, though they are three in persons. And so a person is an individual substance of a rational nature. So the Son is a person and the Father is a person. And we study something called intra-Trinitarian relations, how God is toward himself, or ad intra, as opposed to how he is toward the world, which is ad extra. So there was never a time when God the Father did not exist. There was never a time when God the Son did not exist. And there was never a time when God the Holy Spirit did not exist. And so these three are one. And the Father is God in himself. The Son is God in himself. The Spirit is God in himself, although they have different relational distinctions. So there's a unity here, but then there's also a distinction. So the Father is unbegotten. The Son is eternally begotten. The Spirit is not begotten. On the cross, Jesus makes that statement. It's a direct quote from Psalm 22, by the way. And it's important that we not break the Trinity on Good Friday, right? So it's not that for a moment the ontological Trinity stopped existing on Good Friday. That would be a heresy to say that. So the incarnate Son was the one taking on the wrath of penalty for sin. He was the acting subject there. But there was never a nanosecond when the Son was living apart from the Father. And so we have to be careful about how we talk about that. And yes, there's change in relationship in the economic Trinity as the sin is being paid for and punished by the Son, but there's not a relational break in the ontological Trinity. There's never a change in relationship between the Father and the Son in the ontological Trinity. So some people on Good Friday get a little wacko with their Trinitarianism, man. They break the Trinity on Good Friday. It happens. And I think it's important that we correct that.
And it shouldn't happen.
It shouldn't happen. You can't break the Trinity. So, yes, on the one hand, the Son is the one incurring the judgment of God. But it's not just the Father's judgment. It's not just the Spirit's judgment. It's also the Son's judgment. He's bearing this judgment volitionally, that he's also the one who is the perfect judge. So we have to be careful in how we talk about the oneness of God. And even on Good Friday, God was one. There's a song, okay, it's just a song. It's not in the Bible, but there's a song that says the Father turns his face away. And I love the song. What's the song called?
Is it How Deep the Father's Love?
How Deep, right? It's a good song. But don't take it too far. We're using imagery here, right? So we're trying to capture something theological. We're not necessarily being super literal, right? So the Father never abandons his Son he may have lost his filial relationship. He's suffering certainly in his humanity, but he's suffering as the incarnate Son of God that is always loved by the Father. There's one theologian that made a very provocative statement about this one time, and I got to do some more thinking about it, but I'll just share it with you, John, so that you can think about it too. And that is, on the one hand, he was experiencing the wrath of the Father and his own wrath, settled judgment against sin. But there was also, this theologian said this, there was never a moment where the Father was more proud of the Son than when he was actually performing the greatest act of redemption in all the world as well. So, wow. Think on that. It's interesting. So the great Tim Keller, if you want to chase this down, Tim Keller has a sermon about the presence of God during the Passion Week of Jesus' life, and how the Father is present with the Son, but the presence of God, Keller says, becomes part of the spiritual agony as well, as the presence of God begins to become more the presence of God's wrath. Bruce Ware was the theologian who said that. Bruce Ware. There's never was the Father more pleased with his Son than when the Son was hanging on the cross to accomplish the mission that the Father gave him. So, there's a Jonathan Edwards sermon about Christ's agony in his work as well. But it's a very difficult question, but I don't want to make a separation there between the Father and the Son, even on Good Friday. So it's the Father's wrath. It's also the Son's wrath against sin. It's also the Spirit's wrath against sin. And in a way, there's a unity here, though it's somewhat mysterious.
One of Timothy Keller's most profound and well-known sermons on the topic is titled The Crucifixion, originally preached April 1st, 2012. I got the link here, Pastor Dave.
Are they free now? Can you get everything from Keller for free?
Yeah, Kathy made everything free after he passed away.
You can get like so much.
Just go
good
on
stuff
Gospel and Life.
for free.
All his sermons are free. You don't got to pay anymore.
He's one of the few people ever that I would pay for a sermon, and I did. Like, $2. I'll take that.
Okay.
It's $2.
All right.
I'll do it.
Okay.
Wouldn't you? Back in the day.
Oh, I paid for sermons.
Yeah,
for sure. For Tim Keller.
But now, aren't they on Logos? Doesn't Logos have like a collection?
They might be on Logos, but definitely on Gospel and Life, his website.
Yeah. So that's my answer, John. Let me know what you think, because it's a hard topic. I'd like to hear more from you.
Comment down in the comment section.
Yeah.
We got to get some more engagement down there. So I can guarantee you, though, if you make a comment, Pastor Dave will He will start. He will start typing.
He's going to start typing.
What did you say? You got in a keyboard war with one guy that, and then now you guys are friends.
Kenny, you know who you are, bro. You're my buddy now. Kenny and I exchange. He's friends with somebody at Midwestern on the faculty there.
Oh, he is. Who?
Yeah.
Do you know?
I'll have to look at my emails because he was copied on one of the emails.
Okay.
So he's doing personal church history research on these different small Baptist associations and their doctrinal statements for whoever this professor is at Midwestern. So,
church history
what's up,
guy?
Kenny? If you watch, I don't know if he watches, but we email.
Okay. Jason Dusing, church history guy.
No, I'll look it up.
All right, there we go. All righty. So, second question.
Question number 2
had to do with the sermon text yesterday.
It did. What a good transition. Here's the question. This past Sunday, we read John 9:4. John 9:4.
We read John 9:4 twice.
We must work the works of him who sent me while it is day. Night is coming when no one can work. What does when no one can work mean?
Good question. So John has a lot of metaphors, particularly uses night and day, light and darkness. So when Jesus says night is coming when no one can work, he's using darkness as a metaphor for the end of his earthly ministry. And so in the context of the first century hearers, Jesus is referring here to the night of his crucifixion, when his ministry on earth was going to come to a close and the light was going to leave earth and return to heaven. So this night is this period where there's a certain level of opportunity that the work ceases. And so Jesus is challenging his readers here to do the work of his Father as long as they can while they're on earth. For him, he's the light of the world. He's on earth, and the light is there. But the statement, I think, does carry some broader implications beyond Jesus' immediate context. So for us too, there's going to be a time where we're not going to be here anymore. There may be a time when the trumpet sounds, and our time on earth ends, or through circumstances, whether that's death or even disability, or our own, as I mentioned, our own departure, would render the work impossible for here on earth. So he's using this contrast in the immediate context, and then it also does have some implications beyond that. So that's what he's getting at there.
Or as Kid Rock, Cody Johnson would say, till you can't.
Till you can't. That's right. So get to
See
work.
what I did there, Tim?
Jesus is saying,
I did. I really like that Cody
eat
Johnson
that
song.
frog. That's what Jesus is saying.
You know what you're really gonna like? The Kid Rock version after this show. When you go look it up, I'm gonna turn Tim into a believer.
Make sure you put a link to the Kid Rock song there. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Pastor Dave for the questions for the sermon. So
hey, here we are.
Hey.
John 5, John 9. Let's start with a 60-second flyover. What was your sermon about yesterday?
My sermon was about a lot of things, Pastor Dave. We looked at two pools. We talked about the pool of Bethesda, the pool of Siloam.
It's good.
We had two
I could
pools.
Go for like a pool right now. It's time for
but
summer.
one Savior. By the way, speaking of skiing, well, now let me not go there just yet. Two pools, one Savior. So in the ancient world, there was these pools where a lot of they were thought to have healing properties, and so people with disabilities, people with various diseases, would gather around these pools for healing. So I don't know why that's funny, but
Well, you're like not talking about skiing at all. And then you're like, speaking of skiing,
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I thought of it in a second. I'm summarizing the sermon now. So we talked about the canvas of God's glory, and we asked the question, why does God allow disability? And we looked at these two scenes in John chapter 5 and John chapter 9, and then we talked about it in John 9. There's Jesus' famous saying about he's the light of the world. We talked about how people with disabilities point us to the light of the world, and how Jesus comes in and he sees the overlooked, he restores the forgotten, and he calls the church to do the same. And so there's a missional call in these passages to go out and reach those who are on the margins, those who are specifically disabled, and point them to Jesus. So that was kind of the gist of the sermon. And then we also had a section with Sarah Bush from Johnny and Friends, hearing a bit about her story as well as the ministry of Johnny and Friends and what they do. So that's the summary. The reason I thought about the skiing is because if you go out to Colorado and you go skiing way out in the mountains, there's a lot of these hot springs that have mineral waters that are naturally very warm because of the heat that comes up from the earth itself, and they're very prevalent in ski towns, which is why I thought of that and laughed and then digressed.
Mm-hmm. So, the mud. Jesus takes some saliva and spits in the dirt and makes mud and applies it to the guy's eyes. Why does he do that? And what's the significance of that theologically?
Yeah, so for that part, one of the things that I mentioned, and I think it bears some repeating, is that the same word that's used for mud, specifically for mud, is in Greek is the word that's used in the Greek translation of the Old Testament for when Adam is formed. And so I think there's this echo of creation in the act that Jesus is doing linguistically, and he's pointing here not just to healing but to a type of recreation. He's kind of this inbreaking of the kingdom, pointing us ahead to the recreation of the new heavens and the new earth. It's a pretty fascinating thing that's going on right there, and so that's what he uses in order to open the man's eyes and then to see him, the light of the world, the one who heals him.
A little interesting trivia there. So, who sinned, this man or his parents? What is Jesus' answer, and why is that answer significant in terms of the culture that they are coming from, and then in terms of our context?
So we've had this discussion back and forth in the series, and one of the things we've talked about is that certainly there can be a time when you sin, and there can be a physical ramification. If you're doing something you shouldn't be doing, and it causes a physical harm that maybe leads to a disability, that is not impossible. But in the first century, in Jesus' time, that was the assumption. There was a Talmudic tradition from the rabbis. There was different explanations about even using Genesis 25 and Esau's birth as a evidence for this sinning in the womb idea, or the parents passing down some kind of generational sin. That was the assumption. But the disciples are asking the question because they're kind of puzzled that this guy has been blind from birth, and they're wondering why he's got this disability. And Jesus answered it was not a result of his sin or his parents' sin, but God specifically allowed this to come into being so that his works could bring God glory. So Jesus, in that sense, is turning the cultural assumption way upside down. And I like the turn of phrase that I used that I thought was good and helpful to remember, is that Jesus is telling the disciples to look for answers not in the past causes, but in the future purposes. So it's not about what happened in the past, it's about what God's going to do in the future and how God's going to get the glory for that. And you'll see if you read the rest of John chapter 9, once this man is healed, there's a whole big commotion, and he's out proclaiming the name of Jesus, saying, I was blind, now I see, and this was the guy who healed me. It's pointing people to Jesus as a result of the work that's going on in his life.
So I was chatting with you a little bit about what Tim Keller did with this. I don't know why Tim Keller keeps coming up today, but he was talking about two paths, and the answer of, who sinned, this man or his parents. He said it's kind of like these two different thought processes you can go down. So your parents sinning, this is somebody else's fault, and I'm going to be angry. So he called that the anger path, right? I'm this way because someone else did something to me, and I have a right to be bitter and angry about that. That's an anger path. Or did this man sin? And that's what Keller called the guilt path. I sinned. I'm being punished. It's my fault. That's why I'm like this. So I feel guilty. I feel shamed. I'm to blame. I'm, always down on myself. So Keller said, there's these two paths you can go down with suffering, but disability too. Maybe many different kinds of hardships in life can take you down one of these two paths.
Right.
And then he said, biblically speaking, the answer of neither was really profound in the sense that Jesus is calling you to a third path, a third way. He called it the surrendered path. This is because God's going to be glorified in such and such way. So I wonder, why do you think it's difficult for people to get to that third path and to surrender? Why do we need time, or, what's in the way of us immediately getting there? How come that's challenging, and how can we help people?
Yeah, I think in both of the two paths you outlined, that's sort of the why did this happen question that we were talking about in the message, that it's natural for us to start there. Why did this happen? Why did you allow this to happen? I've seen a lot of people then use that as a reason to walk away from God because they think that God has abandoned them at some level. Why is it difficult for people to get to what I call the second question, what's God going to accomplish through this? It's just because we have, and I'll only speak for myself, but I think I'm not alone. We have a picture of what we think our life is going to be in the future. And when certain circumstances come into our life that upend our expectations, it's really hard to let those go and not to blame somebody for that. So, and I've shared my story. So, obviously there was different pictures we had about what our family was going to look like. And then when we had a son with disabilities, that limited certain things that we could do, that other families might get to do. And that, is a loss at some level, at least a loss of a dream, a loss of a picture of the future. And so it's hard for people to kind of get to that place of acceptance and then say, God, as a result of this, how can you teach me and shape me and mold me and form me through the midst of this process? It's so natural to go to that why and be angry and sad and not be able to get out of that pit and have this kind of victimish mentality about yourself. But when you're able to move to that second question, that really gets you into a place of seeing that God has something bigger planned for you, even if it's not what you expected. I know. Would you add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, that's where the path of freedom is going to be. Mm-hmm. What about the spiritual lessons? So these are physical healings, but in the Gospel of John, these are considered signs, things that are significant. Would you agree that there's a profound lesson here that goes beyond just the physical healing that Jesus is offering here? Or how would you explain, what is John doing with these healings?
I think the physical signs, the physical healings, are pointing to the greater spiritual truth. So if you read both of the John 5 and John 9 passages, I didn't get to go into read through the responses of the Pharisees, but there's a contrast that's put out there. The Pharisees are often missing the point. Their hearts are hard, especially with the blind man in chapter 9. They're specifically described as being blind, right? His eyes are open, their eyes remain blind. And I think in these instances, Jesus is getting at the deeper spiritual need for him and for salvation, that people that were overlooked by the world are the ones that see Jesus for who he is and go and tell people about him, and the ones who are supposed to be the most spiritual, the most religious people, are the ones who are looking past him and missing the point, the ones who should have recognized him. And so John is giving that contrast between the two of them and telling us that ultimately we need spiritual healing first, and then physical healing may happen, but spiritual healing is the most important thing we should be pursuing.
This is a small tangent, but as far as the John 9 passage, the man is given some instruction by Jesus to do something. He's asking him to participate in some way, right? Like go wash in the pool. Why do you think Jesus invites him to be a participant in this story in that way? Is there a reason why Jesus asks him to do something?
Yeah, I think it does have to do with that word "sent" for the translation of Salome. That's Jesus sending him to go and do something. In the same way, if you extrapolate that out to the church, Jesus is the sent one who then is sending us to go out on a mission to tell other people about him and to participate in that with him. So I think there's an action that's involved here. It's not just a theological reflection, but it's something that we should be doing. Any theology we know, when it gets deep down in our hearts, is going to produce action for us to go and do. If I believe that Jesus is the Son of God, then that should change my heart posture and how I act in the world. And be on a mission to go and make disciples of all nations. So I think that's at least part of what he's getting at.
I'm always puzzled by that question from the guy in John 5. Do you want to get well? I mean, it seems like a stupid question, but
yeah.
If we could just maybe assume that the Son of God is perfect and he doesn't actually ask stupid questions, there must be a reason.
Well, if he can see into his heart and what's going on there,
yeah,
it was clearly an intentional question.
Yeah. So you talked about this a little bit in the sermon, but what do you think is the purpose of that question? Why would he start there? Do you want to get well?
Yeah, I added in, you had the suggestion about some other people have kind of gone down the victim mentality route, that this guy really is using his infirmity as an excuse to not go and pursue healing. And I think that's probably a part of it. But to me, I think it is this: Jesus sees into his heart and sees that it's a deeper spiritual issue that is at the heart of this man. So him even wanting to go in the water and getting healed physically and everything is sort of tangential to the main point, that he needs to get right with God, that he needs to see Jesus for who he is and give his life to him. And so Jesus is asking the question: Do you really want to come to me? Do you really see me for who I am? And I think that's evidenced by the fact that when he does, which we talked a little bit about, when he leaves and the Pharisees confront him, or the Jewish leaders confront him, he doesn't tell them that it was Jesus who healed him. And then Jesus comes later on and confronts him, kind of like Dave did with Tim over Kid Rock.
Why does he do that? Why does he chase him down later?
Yeah, I think he chases him down because he doesn't acknowledge him before the Jewish leaders. Because then right after that, we're told he goes back to the Jewish leaders and tells them that it was Jesus who healed him. So initially he's, I guess, too afraid to do that. And then later on, after Jesus confronts him again, he does go back and do that. He does go back and acknowledge Jesus' action publicly. So to me, that indicates there was something different at the beginning that changed after Jesus came back to him.
Those are two really cool stories about healing. I think statistically in the Christian church, in church history, healing would be the exception, not the rule for now. I mean, most people who suffer from disabilities in this life will have them until the day that they die. So, and all of us, by the way, will die of something if
at some
he
point
tarries. So some are healed. We want to see that. We believe in miracles, and Jesus certainly has the power to heal. But how do we understand the fact that this healing is true and wonderful, but at the same time, there's lessons for us in the groaning, in the phase of not being healed? How can we understand what God's calling us to do if we don't experience the wonderful healing of the passages?
In the waiting.
Those were two really wonderful stories, happy endings, but it's not always like that.
Yeah. Well, you're going to talk about the groaning next week, right? There's going to be a lot of groaning next week, Pastor Dave. And I think
let's whet the appetite.
Right. I did say that somewhere in the message, and I think this is the way that I understand it. Yes, Jesus healed some, not all. Healing is the exception. Not to say that he won't, not to say that we shouldn't come to him in faith. But I think when Jesus does healing in the Gospels, it is intentional. And that's part of the point he's making in John 9, is that this man is going to be healed so that it's going to point people to God in the healing. But even in not in the healing, God still gets the glory for our life as we continue to trust in him. And I think that's why the question to the man in John 5 cuts to the heart. Do you want to get well? And I think it's a spiritual diagnostic question, because even if we are not physically healed, so to speak, and there's, we could have discussions about what exactly does that mean. What is full restoration? We could have some type of healing in this life, maybe not full restoration until the new heavens and new earth. But even in the midst of the suffering and the groaning, Jesus still comes to us and says, "Do you want to get well? Do you see me? Do you trust in me?" Because I think when we fully give our lives to Jesus, when we learn to trust him even more, when things don't go our way, when we're clinging to him, no matter what comes into our lives, we can still face it with certainty and with confidence that God's going to be with us, even if we don't experience that full restorative healing that will come in the future. And I think that's part of the question that Jesus is getting at with that man in John 5, which then I think also plays out into John 9 as well. So trust him in the midst of all of that. Trust him if there's healing, if there's not healing. Trust that he's walking you through that. He's got a purpose, and he's going to be with you no matter what comes your way.
Yeah. All right. Well, was there anything else, or does that pretty much wrap up your sermon commentary?
No, I think that's it. Other than I think Johnny, speaking of Johnny and friends, Johnny Erickson Tada has been a great example of that. That she's been a quadriplegic her whole life and has not been healed of that yet in this life, but her ministry has expanded to a worldwide impact, and God certainly has gotten the glory through that. So that's a great ministry that you should definitely check out.
One time I was watching Johnny speak, and I think she was on location in Israel, maybe by the pool, and she was having a Jesus moment there. I don't remember which pool. Are they both still archaeologically available? One of them is definitely.
Jeff Callender told me Pool of Bethesda, definitely. He had the pictures,
Bethesda. But
the Pool of Siloam, he said, I'm not sure we can find that one, because that one might have been more shallow. It might have had a original aqueduct that is dried up. So that one's harder to find.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure. You look up the story. It must have been Bethesda.
Yep.
She was sitting by the pool of Bethesda, and then there was hundreds of people at the pool of Bethesda who were not healed. There's just this one guy, and she said at that moment in that place location, she came to the place where she said, "Thank you, Lord, for saying no." And reflecting on how God has used her to pursue him, to pursue the main thing, which is a relationship with him and holiness.
Yeah.
And now the impact that she's had because of the fact that he said no.
Right. And it would have been very different if he said yes. She wouldn't have done the same things that she did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we pursue him now for the sake of our own holiness. And finally, we will all receive everlasting health. Well, we're going to the groaning next week along with the body, and we'll see some more truths.
And then we'll have a new body on the final week. So.
Yes. We'll end with some really fantastic hope.
Yep.
Well, stay tuned to Upside Down Glory as we continue in this series.
For many parents, one of the deepest pains they carry is a relationship with an adult child that no longer feels close, or it feels broken altogether. Maybe communication has slowly faded. Maybe conversations feel tense, fragile, or filled with uncertainty. Or maybe your adult child has gone no contact, and you're left wondering how things even reached this point in the first place. Estrangement between parents and adult children has reached epidemic levels in our culture today, and some studies suggest that as many as 1 in 4 families are experiencing some form of estrangement. And for many parents, the hurt is real, ongoing, and often carried in silence. When Love Hurts, Parents of Adult Prodigal Children is a new group designed to walk alongside parents navigating these painful realities. Through group discussion, prayer, and spiritual discernment, this group exists to offer understanding, encouragement, and Christ-centered hope. The group will meet Tuesday nights from 6:30 p.m. right here at NBC beginning February the 17th. If you are a parent walking through this season and feeling alone, you don't have to carry it by yourself. This group is here for you.
And that brings us to, where are we now?
Noah Graves.
Noah claims
He's
he's got
back.
the hardest theology sprint in the history of theology sprints of the world.
That is true. And with that, I have a new rule that I am going to be allowing. So from now on, I will always lead with my hardest question on stock, and then if it is too difficult for this week, you always have the option to
So we have to admit
substitute
that
in the
it's-
easy option.
We have to admit that it's too hard. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
I know Pastor Dave likes to play basketball. Think of it as you can either A, take the initial game-winning three-pointer, or B, the warm-up layup.
I
So,
think it's like playing horse, right?
all right, so here we go. This week's Theology Sprint question is, in Matthew 10:33, Jesus says, "But whoever denies me before men, I also will deny before my Father who is in heaven." Does this mean Jesus will deny Peter before God the Father, since Peter denied Jesus before men 3 times?
Oh, no. That's about a full allegiance. That passage, I oftentimes use that in the baptism waters. So this is talking about acknowledgement of the Lord in a moment of public proclamation and expressing our allegiance to him, not being ashamed of him. That does not mean that we will not also have momentary failure from time to time in our lives, such as Peter. He had a fearful evening, 3 fearful moments, 3 times he denied him, and he stumbled, which we all will stumble under stress. Peter was forgiven and very clearly restored in John chapter 21 as he denied him 3 times around a charcoal fire, by the way, same Greek word. And then in John 21 around a charcoal fire, Jesus 3 times asks him, "Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? Feed my sheep, feed my sheep, feed my sheep." And so the first passage in Matthew 10 is about who are you publicly loyal to, right? So you acknowledge Christ and I'll acknowledge you before my Father. And that's oftentimes in Baptist circles, that's our baptism. That's what we do. That's how we profess our faith. That's how we do it. We don't necessarily raise our hand or sign a card or pray a prayer. We look to our baptism as the moment that we publicly declare our allegiance in Christ. That's our initiation right here in our tradition. But I think it's a little bit well, let's just say we all have our moments of failure, and Jesus is very gracious. What would you add?
Well, to me, it seems a bit like the discussion in the warning passages in Hebrews. So it's a, your point about Peter stumbling one time. Okay, we understand that we can get weak, but if there's a continual denial of him before men, that's when judgment comes, because it's sort of proof that you really never were following him in the first place. Mm-hmm. Seems to me to be a bit of a similar discussion there. It's a continual state of denial that maybe he's warning about, rather than a one-time weakness.
Yeah.
So,
good question,
Noah. Not that hard.
Like a elbow pull-up jump
It's a
shot.
false advertisement.
Peter was the rock, man. He's obviously having a relationship with the Lord after his denials. So
That's true. Well, thank you so much
on
for
the day of Pentecost. He was wrote two
there he was.
epistles. He got crucified upside down. He was a big leader in the church.
Let's just say he repented of his early ways.
Which is good news, man. If there's hope for him,
Yep.
there's hope for me.
Amen. Well, thanks so much for joining us on Behind the Pulpit this week. Hopefully the weather gets a little warmer. We're on the upswing, and the Arctic has left us. We'll see, but we hope to see you next week, and we will report on the weather at Behind the Pulpit.
Go eat the frog.
Go eat your frogs.